Ah.
Oh my
Hi,
God.
Paula.
Hello, are
Guys,
you hearing me?
yes, I am. I am. Guys, me go take up technology for myself. If I ever tell you, all I needed to do, I even called my brother Sean, and he was trying to walk me through it. He should be on now because I told him I was gonna go live to see if it worked. Apparently, all I had to do was to click our names. I literally just I went live. It was showing dark. Then I clicked my name. I saw me come up, so I clicked you, and I saw you come up. Sometimes
Wait, wait.
technology is not that hard. Eh? I'm over here, I bust my brain. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. 5 minutes late, but I apologize. Yes, Sean, it works. Thank you so much for your help.
Thank you, Sean.
Ooh, all right, I'm gonna try to gather myself now to get into this. How is everybody doing? How is your Sunday evening? How are you, Paula?
I am. I'm good. I'm well.
You're good? You had to think about it?
Yeah, I mean, if I must be honest, it's been a rough day, but I'm good.
All right. I hope by the time this live ends, you'll be feeling much better.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining my community and I on here. Uh, Rachel said hot. Shani was relaxing. Rachel says, what? PM time say what? What are you saying, Rachel? I don't understand. Come again. Oh my God.
Rachel,
Thank
it's
you
hot.
all for coming. This is like my first live with someone else. I
Oh,
feel so proud. Hence, me never know how to use StreamYard, girl. I've gone live with somebody in the same room, but never like this. So I'm so
yeah.
excited. And it's you. You're the first guest. So big up your nice clean self. Yes. So no man. So, guys, we are here and we want to talk about a little on mental health because it's a topic that, it's growing now. I want to that piece of area. What it not look, I don't know. But up on YouTube, I have to look nice because we live in the screenshot world. And I will not able. Hello, please. First of all, before I even start, have you guys liked this video yet? Have you shared it yet? Let me know. Like, I see some people on, and I'm really glad you're here. I'm so excited. Ew. All right. So, the topic of mental health is one that is growing popularity. Um, and me like and share and comment. That's right, Sean. Hi, Shaniel. Welcome. Shaniel is one of my newest friends. um, yeah, mental health is a topic that it's growing, and I feel like as a church we have not we're not sure how to handle it. We're either of two extremes, I believe. I feel like we're either at the blood of Jesus demon come out scatter rubber bubble, or or we're at the other extreme of not paying it any attention at all. And so tonight, with the help of Mrs. Taylor, oh hello, she married, yeah, yeah, girl, wife a wife. With the help of Mrs. Taylor, I'm hoping that we can come to a middle ground today. We can even help somebody who might not be 100% well or so on tonight. This is a safe space. Feel free to comment. I want you to be active and ask your questions and so on because we're about to have a good time. And I pray that you will be encouraged, edified, and educated on here because, of course, this is the Lady Glenn Legacy YouTube channel where you get content that is educational, edifying, encouraging, and entertaining. So in all the way I go on tonight, like entertainment, I got it call me not boring. But I really know about Paula. You boring, Paula?
We're gonna see. We're gonna see. We're gonna see.
All right. So Paula-Kaye Taylor, you are here on Lady Glenn Legacy YouTube channel. Who is Paula-Kaye? Tell us about yourself.
All right. So Paula-Kaye Taylor. Well, Paula-Kaye Taylor just come out like last year. Before she was Paula-Kaye Murphy,
Okay.
right? I am, as obviously I'm very passionate about mental health. I would say I'm a creative person. I love
Mhm.
to write. I love music. I love nature. I love art. I love books. I like to help persons, and I think being able to help people in this capacity ties in well with my heart's desires. I love the Lord. We've been on a very journey together, but I'm still here. I'm still
Like
here.
relationships, yes.
Yeah, I'm still here, and yeah, it's what was I gonna say? Um,
Give us a
by
fun
day.
fact.
Oh, fun fact about me. What's a fun fact about me? I used to dance when I was a child.
What you say? Like
Yeah, I
ballet
used
and
to
them
like be in a whole,
things?
that, yeah, used to do all them stuff there. But
Okay.
I
So we
don't think
can
that was my
celebrate
ministry.
our wedding. Maybe not.
Still singing.
All right. Okay. In terms of how we met, I don't recall us meeting in person before. I think it was the worship encounter when I sang. Was it the worship encounter? The one that was
Okay,
held
so
at the Church of God of Prophecy. Sean, that
Olympic way or Olympic way?
huh? You were
It
there,
was
man.
Olympic. Yeah, but I think before that, I think I was a Bible study at a church, and you had come there with Tamalcia, I believe.
Oh, yeah. I went that.
But we never really connect per se. I
Hmm.
knew Tamalcia, and I was just like, oh, and like I see you around the place, and like I see you on like social media and stuff, but I didn't really know you. And then for the encounter, that's when I actually saw you,
Yeah,
long
that's
enough.
one I can remember. I can't remember seeing you before that. So I had called to you that night at the Bible study.
No, that's what I'm saying. I saw
Oh,
you, but we weren't necessarily like connected in any way like that.
yeah, because it's really
Yeah,
on Instagram. I think
yeah.
we developed this thing, and then I realized you're in mental health, and then go to get married. I mean, I say, yeah, girl, another kingdom sister, big up you. So yeah, and I just like that you are open about where you're at. You don't try to pretty it up, and even with your mental journey and how you've overcome, and every now and again you're right and say so and so and so, and people are encouraged by it, and you're in the kingdom and you're on kingdom assignment, and so I support you because we are sisters in the Lord, and it's just love. Even though I don't like know you personally or so on, you know, love your girl because we're sisters. So yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about is where did you get the name, the Still the Soul? Like every time I see it, I'm like, how would that name that come about? Tell us a little bit more about that name.
All right. So I actually got interviewed the other day, and I was asked the same question. So I have the answer right here. So,
Yeah.
um, so the still soul was actually a name that the Lord gave me, and He gave me in a time where I was feeling anything but still.
Still.
I was
Mm,
dealing with serious anxiety at the time. I wasn't necessarily seeking professional help for myself because I was still in the mindset of, oh, I'm a Christian and Christians mustn't deal with this. So therefore, I'm going to pray it out. I'm going to recite scripture till the week because
yeah.
I so to deal with it.
Yes, yeah, we laugh now, but trust me,
Yeah, we
man.
can't laugh now, but at that time I was really
Mhm.
struggling, and I remember one day I was also thinking about the fact that I wanted to do blogging and I wanted to have a social media presence with a little bit more meaning. And he said that, okay, this is you. You're the stilled soul, and it was like a prophetic word that
Mm.
I'm going to get to a point where my soul is stilled, my
It is
heart
good.
is stilled,
Yeah.
anxiety is not going to be so crippling for me. And I mean, yeah, it's been like that. Of course, there are days when I do struggle with anxiety, but I don't feel like I can't handle it because I know what to do. So, yeah, that's really it.
Okay, nice. So even the still soul, even the name speaks to your journey, and as you said, it's a prophetic word. So you're living that, and all of them look at nice things there. So tell us though, I know that we use the terms, we kind of throw them around mental health, mental illness. I feel like maybe we don't really understand. And even as a church, we don't understand, the differences. And so we throw the words around mental illness and so on. So could you let us know what is mental health versus what is mental illness, and perhaps how to differentiate between the two?
Right. So, definitely, I find that persons tend to use mental health and mental illness like synonymously, but they're not. So, mental health speaks to the condition of your mind. So just like how you have physical health and you can have good physical health, bad physical health, that's the same thing with your mental health. Mental illness is when you are having poor mental health. And sometimes it can be at a chronic stage. So, for example, depression is a mental illness, anxiety is a mental illness. Some persons have PTSD, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. Those are mental illnesses, and those fall under the category of poor mental health. So mental health speaks to the state of your mind,
Mm.
essentially.
So even the whole depression thing that I feel like people use a lot. One little sadness, boy, I'm depressed, and so on. That is actually a clinical diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what other term could we use instead of depression? Because
So all right. Oh
doesn't
my
it?
God, I find
I'm
that.
wondering. Sorry, I'm wondering that because I feel like we live in a generation. Whenever we begin to use terms too much, they sort of lose their meaning or the impact that it should have. So when all of us walk around and we say, "Oh, me depressed," when somebody who is actually clinically diagnosed as depressed, it's seen as it's a regular part of life, you know. So maybe you could give us some other things that we could say rather than actually saying depressed. Are there clear signs of depression as opposed to overwhelming sadness?
Yeah, I mean, just before I answer that question, that's actually a pet peeve of mine. When
Mm.
persons use like mental illness, like critical mental illness terms, and use it loosely to describe everyday feelings. Like one of the things that really irk me is when persons say they're OCD just because they like order and structure. Like you don't have your I hate it. So and
Mm.
like I said, it really waters down the effects of what these illnesses are and what they entail. So persons who struggle with these things, they are kind of wondering, do I actually have it? Because if you can bounce back after, something get dealt with, but you always say you're depressed, you know? So for in the case of depression, sadness is probably a symptom of depression. There's a lot more to depression than just feeling sad. Some persons feel helpless. Some persons feel hopeless. Some persons have to deal with negative thoughts, intrusive thoughts. Some persons have to deal and fight, suicidal ideation. Some persons have physical symptoms. They're physically unable to get up and do the things that they would normally do. They can't enjoy the things that they would normally enjoy. So being depressed is more than just being sad. That's only one aspect of, depression. And another thing too is like, if you're going to be clinically diagnosed, you have to have at least I think it's 5 to 7 of the symptoms and have it consistently for 2 weeks or more. So being depressed isn't just something willy that you just get one day and you're like, oh, I'm depressed. It's a lot more. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I heard you speak of suicidal ideation. Girl, we don't know about that. So break it down for we. Because we know about feeling suicidal, having suicidal thoughts, but what is this suicidal ideation?
Suicidal ideation is pretty much feeling suicidal, like you're feeling like you want to. Okay, so it's essentially having the desire to end your life or
Mm.
having the desire to no longer live, because some persons, they have the desire to no longer live, but they don't necessarily want to be the one to take their own life. They just
Ah.
want to sleep and don't wake up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So some persons may have like an active desire that, what, I'm going to get some pills and I'm going to get this and that and I'm going to plan out this particular thing. Other persons, them just want to sleep one day and don't wake up because they can't bother with life.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's
I
physical.
do define that clearly. I can actually remember at one point in my life, I think I'd written in my journal, I was like, God, yeah, I don't want to kill myself because I know that I sin. I not like, can get forgiveness and see on and something like that. So I just like, yeah, make somebody just come and take me out. So I can actually remember at one point in my life, I had that thought. Do you think, though, that perhaps mental illness or not having good mental health is becoming something that's very prominent in today's society? Do you think that? And if yes, what are some of the causes, or what are some of the things that you think are contributing to that?
Um, so I definitely do think that having poor mental health is very common. I mean, it's it's so common that even children in the womb come out having trauma, come out with
Give us a little more
PTSD.
information on that, like children from in the womb coming
Yeah,
out with
because based on what's happening with the mother, for example, if a mother is in an abusive relationship and she's going through the abuse while carrying the child, whatever she's experienced and feeling, that child feels too. So they come into it. Just like how, when some mothers them smoke or drink during their pregnancy and the child come out with, I don't know what it's called. I don't know what it's called.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That thing, I don't know what it's called. Same thing with mental health. And we know that, in pregnancy, a mother and the child is particularly vulnerable because every single thing that she experiences, the child will experience. That's why they always say, make sure that you're not in a stressful environment and everything, because it can affect your child. So yes, nowadays mental health issues is very prominent, more common, and there are a lot of reasons. First of all, our society. I mean, last week,
Yes, JPS. We could talk about it. Yes.
I mean, in the US, kids, they're not even, they just reached 10,
Oh my God.
lost their life for what? And it's so commonplace. These are things that are commonplace.
Mhm.
And there are other things. Of course, there's like the whole fact that, inflation. You just mentioned JPS. Nobody like JPS. There is constant talk of death. Every time I turn on the news or I scroll through social media, there is some death, there is some, so it's like a constant onslaught of bad news and trauma. It's just a constant onslaught of trauma. You have no time for recovery from anything. And so persons are really struggling to kind of still maintain a sense of normalcy in the midst of all of this. I mean, I'll tell you the
Because
truth
COVID was
sometimes.
one in itself.
Listen, and then them talk about monkeypox. Hello?
When I
Who
saw that,
asked for
I'm
that? Who asked for that? Who called for
like,
this?
are we
Hello?
gonna get a break because we're not even through with COVID yet? Yeah.
We're not even fully done with COVID. They were coming out with some other things, some other variants, and people are just like, we don't care.
I'm
Stop
over
care.
here about five. Like, no man. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like being living in Jamaica is traumatic, and I chuckle at that. But actually, I can recall a former high school colleague, student. We went to high school together. She shared. I don't remember what was the name of the Caribbean island that she went to for studies. And she said when she got there, it was then that she realized how traumatic it is to live in Jamaica and how some things that we think are normal are not a part of, everyday life. She said that in that particular country, they don't have a nightly news at 7 p.m. And she said she was shocked, like, huh? Because there's nothing to report. Nobody is dying at the rate that people are dying here in Jamaica. There is no scamming and all these things at the level, so they don't have a nightly news. And she said that that was one of the things that really shook her. And since she's been there, I think she said maybe just one person died in terms of like murdered, and when she shared that, I was just like, wow. So she was now in that place, and she's almost like she couldn't able to function, even though we would say, but girl, I'm good something that you're somewhere where nothing is happening. It should have been normal or easy for you to know going to that place and you're okay, but
But
it was
it wouldn't,
something that was affecting her.
it wouldn't, because here's the thing. You see, when you're used to, okay, so when you've been through traumatic situations, after a while you become what is known as hypervigilant.
Mm.
And so, like you said, she's in a better position now. She should be able to function and should be able to, like, acclimate, but she's not used to it.
Mm-hmm.
She's used to the fast pace and the things that go on and gunshot a fire
You're
down the
walking
phone,
around all
police
these
are black.
things.
And so you're always on high alert because it's too calm, it's too, and
Mm-hmm.
your senses are wired to respond to that kind of thing. So I mean, I totally get it. The other day, another YouTuber was talking about how she's Jamaican and she's currently living in the US. And she's talking about like comparisons, and she said that yeah, there's some things about the US that's kind of like eh, but she said the mere fact that she can leave her house at 10 o'clock in the night and just go walk without fear. Sister,
Yeah.
if you try that out here.
First of all, I was walking today, minutes after 12 p.m., middle sun at vehicle passing, one and two people on the road because it's Sunday. Sundays are not so active. And I was walking and I was a power walk, me a power walk. A power walk, me a power walk and a pray. That walking thing, trust me, it really does something to you. And as you talk about hypervigilance, it's a story that I'm going to share. But I remember when I was held up at gunpoint, I feel like that was when everything changed for me. Me and one girl, I walk any hours a night. 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and me I walk and me all right. But ever since that happened to me, I don't even want to walk at 5 p.m. As I told you, today I was walking at 12, after 12, and I was
Yeah.
power walking. But let me read some comments. Thank you guys for being here. Please to like this live. Of course, share with some friends because we're talking about mental illness. I was about to say illness. Oh my God, that's a pet peeve. We're talking about mental illness. Uh, and the church. We're gonna get to that in short order. So share it because we need to let everybody know how they can be a part of the solution. Everybody talking about the problem. We're here tonight to talk solutions. I see Shaniel Swaby saying, oh, exactly. LOL. Research is important. Richel says, I am Quell says, Paula, murder after murder, facts. people reach their limit, do they need more citizens? I'll volunteer as tribute. Oh my God. Moving from driving myself to taking public transportation triggers my anxiety daily. Listen, I completely understand that at I am Quells. It's a thing. I want to talk about anxiety though, Paula-Kaye. Is anxiety, and I am asking because I want to gain some clarity. Is anxiety also clinically diagnosed? How is somebody able to identify when it's anxiety, I guess, as opposed to whatever else? Because I feel like that's a common one that we probably hide behind personality trait, and things like that.
So with an anxiety, all right, so there's anxiety, there's fear, there's anxiety, and there's an anxiety disorder.
Ah, okay.
So fear, you feel threatened, or you feel threatened by a particular thing, and so the fear response is your body's and your mind's way of telling you that you're in danger and you need to get out of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety is like an anticipated fear of something,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So you're anticipating being in a dangerous situation, and so you're on
Mm-hmm.
alert for that. But once that situation passes, you're good. An anxiety disorder is where you have, so say for example, you're anticipating a fear, or you're anticipating a situation that's possibly dangerous, and but long after that situation has passed, you're still experiencing the symptoms of the anxiety,
Okay.
sometimes without even a trigger, without any explanation. You start feeling those symptoms and experiencing those signs, and that's when you know you have a disorder, because it's not
Okay.
necessarily triggered by anything, or the thing that has triggered it has passed and you're still
Sure.
experiencing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess this wouldn't be a case where, for example, um, or you can tell me, for example, something happened, you're fearful, you are scared and all of that, and even after some time, you're still living in that place of the hurt or whatever would have happened. That would
Yeah.
be more of a anxiety disorder, or one off doesn't necessarily define it as so. It would have to be a pattern or a continuous thing.
A pattern.
Okay.
So you can't necessarily describe a one-off thing as a
Right,
disorder.
right.
It's a one thing. But
Yeah.
just like how with the depression, you have to have a certain number of symptoms over a period of time. It's the same
Mhm.
thing with the anxiety. Like, for example, for me, I experience particular symptoms of anxiety over months. So when
Okay.
I went to see a therapist, she was like, "Yeah, you're dealing with this."
Hmm.
And we were able to work through what I was dealing with based on the symptoms that I presented.
Okay.
Yes.
Understood. Tell us, Paula-Kaye, why are you so passionate about mental health, mental illness? What led you here?
I give the answer I give everybody every time they ask me. It was the Holy Spirit. So,
Ah!
so psychology was never like something that I knew about when I was younger, and I was like, yeah, man, when I grow up, I want to be in this field. It was literally book ups.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a pre-law course, and you take the something, and something go wrong. I'm gonna say, all right then. I was all right then. I need to get into school this August, so I need to find a course. And a friend of mine that was at UE was like, "Come to psychology. Like, I think you like it." And I was just like, "All right, let's do this." And in doing psychology, I realized that I'm really interested in learning about these different disorders. I'm fascinated by the way, the mind works in these situations. Granted, I never liked the statistics, I did a struggle in the research course then, but at the end of the day, I realized that I really, really am interested in how the brain works, in how people function, in how the mind
Mm-hmm.
works. And it also helped me to kind of understand my own struggles. I was able to put a name to something I had experienced in high school, depression.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to identify that certain experiences were traumatic and they altered the way my brain works. And then, even as I was winding down my university tenure, I realized that mental health is not necessarily something that is talked about widely. Like even like persons who did the course with me, not many of them were thinking of going into mental health. They were thinking of going to something else because that's where the money was. So I was like, Lord, if this is what you want me to get into, then yeah, I'm
Okay.
going to it.
So, what role does your relationship with God play in your journey of mental health, even your personal journey?
So it was the Lord that actually told me to go to therapy.
Hmm.
And
The
in
Lord,
doing
guys,
that,
Lord, the therapy is not demonic. The Lord, yes. Hmm.
yeah, Jesus and therapy, they go together.
Right?
But
Hashtag JH, Jackie Hill, JHP.
but I was able in having that experience of doing all the quote unquote churchy things, still struggling with stuff, and then God was just like, I hear your prayers and I know you want help, and here's how I'm going to help you. Go to therapy. And I was
Hmm.
like, sure, is this Jesus? Satan, you're a liar. But he was like, yeah, go to therapy. And in going to therapy and having the tough conversations and unearthing certain things that I was dealing with, I was better able to receive what God was saying to me and also kind of clear up the little clutter in my brain so I could function better. And that helped me to realize that the way that the church tackles mental health is not the best. And we need to rewrite or rethink how we view mental illnesses. You said earlier that it's one extreme to the next. Either we don't talk about it, or we demonize it, or we over spiritualize it. And there has to be like a balance in how we deal with mental health. In the church, outside the
The
church, there
church
has to be a
generally have a
balance.
balance issues that are one extreme or the next. May
Yeah,
Jesus help us.
yeah. But yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Let me just read some comments. I am Quells says moving for and it prevents you from carrying out simple daily functions. All student psychologists have issues and are trying to figure it out.
That's true.
I feel like G listen my podcast. I have a question here from Shamara. What if you're troubling with anxiety for, I guess this means for a long time, and did not find out that you are troubled with it until long after? I guess she's trying to find out what are some things that you can do to help with that.
It's never too late to get help. Granted, it may a bit more time to work through what you're dealing with, but it's never too late to get help. You can definitely speak to a therapist and they will help you. They will walk you through whatever it is that you're dealing with. Um, what I realized with mental health issues, it's always better to tackle the issue early. But unfortunately, we don't always tackle things with mental health early. We kind of wait till things get worse because we don't take our mind's health seriously.
Right.
However, go to a therapist. Do not delay. Go there and book your appointment and make them help you because they can.
Quick question. I know that you are also a mental health coach. So how do you know when you're to seek a coach as opposed to a therapist? I'd want to think that their function is different. So maybe you could
So
tell us
for
the
what
difference.
I do, I work with persons. So I work with persons in early stages. So
Oh,
if you're dealing with anxiety and it's not so you deal with anxiety, but it's not crippling. Like you're not, what can I say? You are not at the point where you need medication,
Okay.
right? Or if it's a case where you just need support in dealing with like stress, in dealing with depressive episodes, I can help you. However, if it's a case where where you think you need to go into your past, your traumas from your childhood, or you need to work through an abusive relationship and PTSD, if you think you need to be diagnosed or you need to be assessed, you go to a therapist or a psychiatrist.
Okay. So is there perhaps a pre-assessment that you give to determine if your clients need a coach or a therapist? Because say probably somebody, remember we're not so we're not so educated or informed on the topic. So I might think maybe I just need a coach. Is there a pre-assessment that you do to determine whether or not this person needs a coach or a therapist?
Yeah, I do. I do a
Okay.
pre-assessment, and based on so I do a pre-assessment, and I also do a consultation. And in that conversation, with the information that you've given me and the conversation that we have, I will say, all right, then, here's how I can help you. Let me know if this is what you need. But if you need more, I can refer you to another provider. If I realize that, like, for example, I had somebody recently who their issues, it was above me, and I wasn't afraid. I was like, honey, let me send you a therapist because I can't. And I
Right.
think it's very important for
Yeah.
me to do that because this is people's minds. This is people's health, and I don't want to be a hindrance to somebody being healthy mentally. I don't want pride and whatever to have me taking on things that I cannot handle and
Right.
damaging people. So I don't have no problems telling people, go to this person, check out this
Mm-hmm.
therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Reading some comments, Rachel says, watch OPK talk about my current life now. Gosh. Uh, Jimon is asking, what therapy resources are available in Jamaica? It feels like it's a little niche you have to search hard for.
It really is. I've been actually doing some research myself. I found a couple resources. I'm actually gonna write them in the comments, but I found a couple resources that seem to work. There's tea tree house, there's tea house therapy, there's centered JA, there is small step, there is Dr. Kai Morgan and Associates. There's Family Life. I think everybody know Family Life. Um,
Or most
there's
Christians.
Webster Memorial Counseling Clinic. And there's some other resources. The thing is, though, therapy in Jamaica, I realize, is a little bit expensive. It's expensive. I'm not
I
gonna
just
lie.
I love everything, but we understand what you say.
It's expensive. I've actually been interested in finding out if, like, because I know that overseas, some insurance companies cover therapy. So I have
Oh,
been wanting to know. I think I asked somebody recently if insurances cover therapy out here. I don't think they do.
that would be good if Sajiko or so on could jump on that
Yeah, it
because
would.
a
I think it
lot
would.
of people
Yeah.
need the support. And it's so funny that you said that because I was watching a movie last night. I'm so strange, and in watching it, this family started what do they call these things now? Like a non-profit thing where they give back. I don't remember the name of that, like a charity. And I was thinking, what if I was supposed to, come up with something that people could, send money and then provide support to people who needs like my mind went there last night. So
I've thought about that. I've thought about like, oh my gosh, there's so many things I want to do. Like, I thought about getting into. So this is off topic, but I'm gonna go there. The kind of work that I want to do with mental health is I want to set up resources that are easily accessible for the regular man. Because
mm,
not everybody can afford the $8,000 an hour for therapy.
mama.
We can't do it, right?
And because most
But
times you need several sessions.
exactly,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
$80,000.
there's some like public clinics I think that have mental health services, but it's not
So
frequent and it's
accessible.
not enough people. And so I want to be able to set up like workshops and just things that will help persons to be able to help themselves, make
Mhm.
resources more accessible, that kind of thing,
So
information more accessible, so it's, I don't know, Jamaica need a whole overhaul.
persons who would have perhaps like studied psychology or social work, are they able to be practicing counselors? Are they able to be a part of that resource pool?
I would love for it to be that case because, all right,
Because I
I
know
know.
quite a number of persons, they have their psychology or social work degree and there's not much work for them. So, I mean, if, and this is just me thinking off the top of my head, if we all could just come together and decide, let's start this thing, make it accessible to people right now. If we can do it over over, Zoom, wherever, that kind of thing, and make it more accessible for people. And then, of course, this is just me thinking gospel wise. No, that's also an opportunity to introduce people to Christ, because there's no way to tackle mental illnesses and wanting a good mental health without Jesus, because there are a lot of things happening and we need him. And that kind of just segue into my other question for you. I understand that the church has not, this is a question that came to me this evening, so I didn't send you. I understand that the church has not dealt with mental health or mental illnesses correctly. Um, but what I want is, I feel like, how do we? Hmm, all right. So we know that scripture says that, hey, he has not given us a spirit of fear, and all these other scriptures that help us understand the provision, not like physical provision, but the emotional, the wellness of our soul provision that we have access to because we've accepted Christ. How do we use that to help our mental wellness and not necessarily identify ourselves with the mental illness? Because I'm big on identity in Christ and so on. So I'm saying, how do I identify myself as the righteousness of God as opposed to whatever traumatic experience that clinically I would be diagnosed with? How, I don't know if you're getting the question. It's almost like, how do we balance that? Because there is a place, I think, for the, oh, there's a legion out in Jesus' name. How do we know when to take that approach as opposed to this person needs counseling? Not that whomever you just cast out a legion from don't need counseling, because I think that should be a thing too. But like, I think maybe I'm rambling, but I think my question is, how do we get to a place where we don't, uh, systematize isn't the word, but we don't lose the spiritual aspect of the fact that these are some things that can be, uh, as a result of demonic possession, and knowing that, oh, this is what you're supposed to do as opposed to choosing another method. I don't know if with all of them just say, kind of get the question of me. I try ask.
I'm gonna pick it out. All right. So, from my understanding,
Mhm.
so it's important for the church to step away from over spiritualizing everything. I feel like oftentimes we over spiritualize what we don't necessarily understand,
Okay.
and it's easy to just say, "Oh, it's a spirit," and leave it at that.
Yeah.
But oftentimes it's more than just, yes, there's spiritual, you know, there's spirits attached to certain situations. There's a spirit attached to like depression and stuff, but you have to also tackle the physical
Man. Mhm.
aspects, right? So just because there is something spiritual attached to depression doesn't mean that I didn't experience something in my childhood that needs to be dealt with in
Right.
order to help me to properly deal with the
Mm-hmm.
effects of that spirit, which is the depression.
Right.
Another thing is that we need to spend time educating our members on mental illnesses, on mental health, because then you'll be able to have persons who know what a thing is,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have a lot of persons in the church who are not educated in that space, and so, like I said, they call everything demon. You know, um, there are some, like I was reading a book the other day. It's called Grace for the Afflicted, and if you are somebody in the church and you want to have a biblical understanding of mental illnesses that does not take away from the fact that this is a mental illness, that's a good book to read. It has like a clinical term, but it's a good book to read. And the
Mm-hmm.
writer spoke about the fact that um, there are some so demonic possession and mental illness, you may think it looks similar, but there are some distinct things that you can say, okay, this is demonic. Like supernatural strength and void, like multiple people talking, like, well, one person talking like multiple people. Of course, one would say, oh, but that could be schizophrenia. But there are
Right.
certain things that, just like how with
Differentiate them.
mental illness, there are certain symptoms that kind of come together to say, okay, this is depression. It'll be
Mm-hmm.
same with demonic possession. So I think just being educated.
Yeah.
I
I
think it
think that
boils
would
down
be
to.
a good book because
Let me show
um
you. Hold on.
yes,
Let me show you.
yes, if you can tell us, because I think that would be a good book. Because I think what I don't want us, I'm all for, yeah, man, understanding, mental health, mental illness, but I don't want us to lose the fact that, listen, sometimes the devil will come and sneak in and I try, get us to accept things or identities that Christ has not given us. So I feel like getting a book that could educate us and help us to differentiate grace for the afflicted. Yeah, drop that in the chat, and the author, please, because that is, I think, most importantly, that's my challenge. That's my challenge as a believer who is big on identity and the resource that Christ has offered me. How do I know the difference when this is a situation that needs therapy, or this is a situation that needs deliverance and then therapy? You
And
understand?
sometimes it need both.
Right. This is why I actually said deliverance then therapy, because I do believe that all persons who go through deliverance should get some form of therapy. I'm seeing some comments here. When I'm active in the chat though, I'm like,
Somebody said that it's tough to reach the nations if you can't speak their language. And yes, you cannot come to me depressed. I am depressed, and you can come to me and tell me someone just need to pray it out.
mm. I am Cole says, I think if you get a clinical diagnosis and need medication, then you can claim for it with your health insurance after you spend. Okay, don't quote me, but I think so. Yes, Jaman, 8K an hour, and probably that's one of the cheaper ones. I am Cole says the cost give you additional disorders. I'm Cole says I'm willing to be a part of that movement. I guess it's the one we were speaking of earlier about, us coming together. Moses wasn't possessed, he was insecure. Yeah, Moses actually had a speech impediment. He was stutter. He had a stutter. I agree 100%. Yeah, yeah, it's good stuff. I just, as I said, my challenge is not wanting to lose the identity, the resource of that I have because of access to Jesus. So there, I feel like even with helping others to work through those things, like, don't, not just, this is me, point them to Jesus too, because he's the one who can really help us, and so on, all while getting therapy. So I think Christian therapy would be good for the people in the church, because you have a lot of people in the church, they need help, but there is no people either go the extreme, as I was saying, of the oh robo, hey, or ignore it, and then it develops over time. I am Quell says it's a traumatic experience to be possessed and delivered. People look at you different. You can become depressed, develop fear of rejection, and a whole also. Yes, I agree. It's so important to call. Yes, that have been possessed as well as those who have witnessed it. Yes, I agree. That's why I think
Yes,
that deliverance should go hand in hand with counseling.
exactly. And then I also think that with one thing I realized that is very common in churches that do deliverance, they make it a show.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a very vulnerable thing.
Yeah.
Like, not
I
every
feel
church,
like we're supposed
obviously.
to go live on. I feel like when deliverance going on, don't show if it's a live service, remove, don't go live with that. Like just don't, you
Or
have some people who are pick up
turn
the
the camera somewhere
sprite.
else. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. Um it's a thing. People look at you different, you become scarred. Sometimes people even remember you for the thing that you were
Yeah.
delivered from. For
You
example, the
can't even
woman with
move
the
on
issue of blood.
properly.
Remember, say, I'll know we don't know her name. We know her because of the situation, she was healed or delivered from. So I think that's very important to get counseling with therapy, get deliverance with counseling after. I'm 100% in agreement with that. So how important now is community in helping somebody with mental health, in terms of, I let's talk like friendship wise or so on. We have friends who, they might struggle with anxiety or any other mental disorder or illnesses. How can we offer support to people like those? How are we able to even pick up the signs?
So, social support community is very, very important when somebody is um, dealing with a mental health issue, because the enemy of one of the enemies of your mind is isolation. In
Yeah.
isolation, an unhealthy mind can run rampant and make you worse.
Mm-hmm.
In isolation, intrusive thoughts can get the best of you. And so having persons around you who are not only like supporting you but also helping you through the issue is very important. Like having persons who listen, they not just want to talk over you, they actually listen. Having persons who validate your feelings. They may not understand it, but they don't make you feel as though whatever it is that you're experiencing is less than or is unimportant. They may not understand it. They may have a different reaction or response to what you're dealing with, but they're not going to be like, I thought you were about. I thought you should stop that girl. Like they say, okay, yeah, all right, I understand. They allow you, they give you space to talk about it. And my friend Kels, she said I'm her 911. We have a girls group, and every once in a while, one of us going there, we're just like, yo, XYZ, we're dealing with this. And we're able to talk about it. We have discussion. Sometimes it may be a one friend, we just call them one time and say, hey, I'm dealing with this. And they're able to listen. Another thing is you are having a community that's able to help the person be occupied or distracted in a healthy way. So you take them out of them environment, carry them go lunch. If you're on errands, call them. Hey, you want to come with me? We can just, go pay 2 light then and grab some Starbucks. Or,
Like
take them to a concert, take them to the park, whatever. Take them out of the environment, because sometimes being in the same environment can have you in the same mindset.
right.
And also just encourage them to seek professional help. Some persons may not necessarily feel like they need it immediately, and that's okay. Talk to them, check in on them, whatever. Other persons, they probably want to do it, but they don't know the first thing about getting that kind of help. Do the research with them, make the phone call for them if needs be, ask questions with them if they need company for the first one. Go with them, sit in the waiting room with them. When they're done, ask them how it go, or take them go somewhere, like whatever it is, just be there for the person. But
Mm-hmm.
social support is healing. Having good community is healing.
And it's
Trust me.
cheaper. You don't have to pay enough money.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things I want your help with, and maybe even others here, somebody who is isolated, like we know something is wrong and this person shuts down, isolate. How do you get through to that person without, I guess, being forceful so that the person would pull away even more than they're already pulling away? How can you reach to somebody like that? I feel like that's one of the things now that people are doing, because sharing has become, nobody wants to share anymore. Nobody wants to reveal their vulnerabilities. It was already a thing people were not doing. And then people had, some had started, and then the feedback has not been, a good, has not been good, and so people are pulling away from that. So when somebody decides to isolate, go into isolation, how can we in a community reach out to that person or get that person to open up? Because as you said, like when you're struggling and you're isolated, it can really even drive you further away. Not to mention, in terms of the spiritual aspect, we know that when the devil isolates you already, ready to assassinate you. You understand me? So, how can we reach out to people or help people who are isolated?
So, I mean, the first thing I would say is checking on them, but do not be forceful in how you check in. So, for
Mm.
example, say for instance, I am dealing with um, a bad breakup. God forbid. I'm dealing with a bad breakup.
Amen.
And, you know, when you check in with me, I may not necessarily want to talk about the breakup. Just ask me casually, hey, what's up? How you doing? Check in genuinely without trying to pry for information. Most times, when they're good and ready, they'll talk about it.
Okay.
And if and persons can really sense when you're being genuine. Persons
Mm.
can sense when you're being genuine, and persons can sense when it's a fish for information.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, do what you normally do. Check in on them, distract them, carry them out, send them a nice affirming message. Hey, just thinking about you, just know that I love you and I'm here for you. I'm praying for you. Pray for them. Hello. Pray for them genuinely. And in their own time, I feel in their own time they'll come around. For some persons, they may need a bit more. And some persons, you might not necessarily be the person to get through to them, but playing that part of just making sure they're okay, praying for them, buying them a little gift, thinking about you, whatever. That works. And in their own, people will open up to you when they feel safe. As Angelisa said, people open up when they feel safe.
Yeah. Thank you. Another one I want to talk about is loneliness. people are people are going through loneliness even when they have a community, they know the same community that you say is important. So how can the person, the client, I'm gonna say, um, tackle loneliness, and how can community help that person too? Because a lot of the times it's not like they're not around people, but how do we even know that this person is still feeling that way, or so on?
So it's funny because I've been having a lot of conversations about loneliness recently.
Yes, I see.
Yeah. And somebody even messaged this morning and asked me about it. But loneliness is so tricky because I find that, especially in my experience, I feel like sometimes it can creep up on you. But loneliness, for somebody who is experiencing loneliness, I'll always encourage you to find somebody to talk about it with. And that may seem like I'm feeling low, this is counterproductive, but find somebody to talk about it with. If it's even one person, if you can't talk to somebody about it, write about it, right? Um, Another thing I would encourage persons to do is try to engage persons who may probably have the same interest as you. Um, Whether it's whatever it is, music, exercise, art,
Mhm.
psychology, whatever it is, engage persons like that. But if you're finding that you literally, even when you're in a crowded space and you still feel lonely, it could be something deeper. And I'll always encourage people, seek professional help. Seek somebody to help you, to walk you through getting through a period of loneliness.
Okay. Before I go to my last two questions, just want to read some comments. Rachel says, "Be willing to listen. It goes a far way. Feel with them." Quill says, "Cheaper than therapy." I guess that's community. As someone that isolates often, when friends check in with me and not necessarily address the elephant in the room, but engage me in other conversations and create a safe space until I am ready to talk. Thank you for that. I am Quells. You read Paula-Kaye Angelisa's comment earlier. Rachel says another thing too, love language, know them. How you accept love, support them is not how everyone else
That's
does.
important to
Okay, yeah, I'm big on love languages too. Like, hello, please love me how
love me
I
correctly.
uh
Love me correctly.
yes, and that's not how you love yourself. Sorry, it may be, but it may not be. So I'm big on that as well. So I know you would have mentioned some a lie, before we reach there. So I want you to talk about self care versus selfishness and balancing that. So actually, it's three questions may have leave. So talk a little about self-care in terms of mental, everybody these days, like, I have to watch my mental health, like, how do we balance self-care as opposed to selfishness, especially as Christians, because we're not supposed to be selfish. So how do you know when you're crossing over into selfishness as opposed to just
I think
self-care?
when you're crossing over into selfishness, I think you're selfish when what you're doing is really, really, really negatively affecting somebody within reason. Let me explain.
Can you give
So
an example too?
I may decide that I my self care is I'm going to say no to some requests,
Mm-hmm.
right? Keep on bothering me with certain things, I might just say no. I may tell you no, and you may feel offended. How can you say no? That's selfish. But I know that if I should say yes to your request, it's going to be hurting me. So that is that wouldn't be classified as selfish. You may see it as selfish, but it's really not. But if it's
Mm-hmm.
a case where, for example, um, you have something to do, you're depending on me to do it, we agree on it, I tell you I'm gonna do it, and then for the last minute, we say, anyway, sorry for you, but we're not gonna do it. And it was like, but we already agreed, da, 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 da. And I'm just like, well, this is self-care. I'm not gonna do it. That's selfish because we already made plans. We already, up to the last minute. But I think it's subjective for the most part. I think it's subjective. You just have to be very conscious and aware of how you approach certain things. But with self-care, it doesn't have to be elaborate and always luxurious. I mean, I know that nowadays the self-care that we're seeing in mainstream media and social media is very
Taking a flight.
hotel, very five star,
Malibu. Yes.
very Maldives, very Bora Bora. But some we don't have the Bora Bora money.
I would I love it right now.
So you have to be practical, and self care can be very practical. Self care can be as simple as switching off your phone for an hour or two and just resting. Self-care
Mm-hmm.
can be taking a walk, self-care should be exercise. Let's
Mm-hmm.
go there. Self-care should be eating properly. Self-care should be resting well, so
Having healthy
self-care isn't
relationships.
having healthy relationships. Come on, somebody. Self-care is whatever it is that you do that you are honoring your body, you're
That
honoring
builds
yourself,
you.
you are taking care of you, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay, I am Quilsa catching flights. Yeah, what these people say now on social media, catching flights, not feelings.
and I'm catching both of them
Yeah, girls, same way. Why Paula dripping me up? Why I drip? Why I drip? I am Quills
because
Paula.
she needs to go to our bed.
Ah, after this live though, we want her to watch it. All right. So since you kind of gave us some self care tips, just to kind of know sum up everything, give us 5 ways in which we can manage our mental well being. Also, tell us what you do at TSS coaching. At TSS, right? Yeah. And how they can contact you.
All right, so 5 ways that you can manage your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, get adequate rest.
Mm-hmm.
Resting allows your mind to recoup, allows your brain to recoup. Get rest.
Well, that is another
Number
challenge in itself, you know,
two,
girl. Because with the traffic, I have to wake up early, especially those who live across the water over Portmore. I have to wake up early because, oh my God. Yes, it's the world just set up for we not have good mental health.
listen, this society will have to beat the system. Have to beat the system.
Mm-hmm.
Number
Adequate.
two, set proper boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Personal boundaries, boundaries at work, even boundaries in your intimate relationships.
And boundaries at church. Let us talk about that because the church want to keep you at church Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Boundaries at
Friday,
church.
Saturday.
Number
Yeah.
three, maintain a good community. As I said before, good social support is healing. So when you
Mm,
have a good community, you have good people in your life who support you, who love you, who cheer you on, who not afraid to correct you, who not
yeah.
afraid to push you for greatness, that's always good. I'm reach
Hmm.
number four now.
Yes. Hold on. Quick one. And on the topic of community, um, persons who probably, have traumatic experiences, who have mental illnesses, I don't want to say illness, or may not have a good mental well being because of traumatic experiences. What is their responsibility in community? Because, I mean, you don't expect to always isolate, always do this, always do that, and then you say, yo, you want some friend. I know some friendship work. Friendship go both ways. So what is their responsibility in being good friends? Because I feel like persons who might not have good well-being, they talk a lot about, oh, not having anyone, not having this, and all of that. What's their responsibility?
Um, honestly, and I'm speaking from what I have observed from somebody who I know who has a mental illness. She has bipolar 2, I think, and I by observing her, I have learned that it has to be um having friends who have like critical or chronic mental illnesses. It can be challenging, and it's not for everybody. It's really not for everybody.
Yeah.
However, if you decide to if you as a person with a critical or chronic mental illness want to have that kind of community, you have to meet a community halfway and you have to be honest with them. For some persons, certain time of year, the way how them brain work, them I go depressed, them I go shut down. Let people know. Let people know. Because I can be here, meeting say me and you good, me know how your thing work, and by September you shut down, you stop talking to me, I try to call you, you not answer your phone, go to your house, be here say you move. Like, so having open,
And then
honest
something here really
conversation.
happened. True, true. Then something here happened.
Yeah, but again, it's a matter of building trust because persons who experience chronic mental illnesses, they have experiences that have often caused those things. They have had traumatic experiences sometimes that have caused the these mental illnesses to come to the fore. And so it's a matter of building trust first and then
Mm,
being able to connect, meet your community halfway. But like I said, not everybody can be the kind of friend that persons with chronic mental illnesses need.
yeah.
So if you're a part of that
Emotional
community, be
grace.
honored to be a part of the community and more strength and power to you.
All right. You are number 4 with the tip.
Number
So one
four,
more.
eat properly.
Yeah. No man, you fifth one no. You had said eat properly
So the
already.
fifth one, if you need it, seek professional help. Don't be afraid to get professional help.
Okay. And she's gonna drop the resources in the chat, including her coaching brand. Tell us a little about what you do at TSS Coaching and how my followers, subscribers, family here can contact you.
So with TSS coaching, I essentially help persons in their early stages of mental health issues. So if you're having bouts of anxiety, if you're dealing with depressive episodes, if you're having difficulty with stress management, I assist you with that. Recently, I helped somebody work through grief. That was very new for me, but it was a very enriching experience. Um, I also help persons to say, for instance, you're not necessarily experiencing a really bad mental health issue, but you still want to maintain good mental health. I help you to set those goals and we work on them together. You can find me at TSS underscore coaching on Instagram, and all my information is there. If you want more information, you can always DM me or you can send me an email to thestillsoul@gmail.com. And yeah,
By the way, is that account subscribed to my YouTube channel, the TSS at gmail.com?
yeah, yeah. I go check.
Okay.
I go check.
You know, I have to check because my followers know that what do I say? 2022. We wanna be monetized in 2022. Hey. Thank you so much, Mrs. Taylor, for
Thank
coming on
you.
my YouTube channel and being a part of my officially a part of my community. Yeah, the legacy family here.
Yes.
Let me know, guys, if you have any questions. We're coming down the wire now. So
Let me
let me
just
know.
put that information in the chat.
Okay, no problem. Let me know if you have any questions, any comments before we close off, guys. So, Paula, you're a
Thank
big
you.
singer. You know want to sing for we. All of a sudden, all of a sudden. But
Oh
hold on.
my god.
You know, really and truly, everybody I invite on my YouTube channel has to sing my welcome song.
You know what? You're gonna invite me again, and I'm gonna learn it. Yeah, that's how we're gonna do.
So yeah, you need to learn it. I am Quell says, how can we deal with imposter syndrome? So I guess you can first go ahead and define imposter syndrome and then answer how we can deal with it.
So I feel like, okay, so here's the thing. I feel like if I should give any deep advice about it, I'll be a hypocrite because I deal with it too. But imposter syndrome is essentially feeling like you are unable to do what you're doing. So, for example, I'm in mental health, but for some reason I feel like I'm not supposed to be here because I'm not qualified or I don't have enough of whatever it is. Um, honestly,
How you know when it's imposter syndrome as opposed to the regular fear or nervousness or oh my god, am I going to do this well? Because isn't that a general emotion, similar to how you have sadness and then there's depression? So what's the measuring stick, how you know when it's imposter syndrome as opposed to the regular oh my god, I don't know if I can do this kind of fear, anxiety?
I feel like imposter syndrome is a type of fear. I feel it's a type of fear, and the kind of fear that will it kind of feed into your insecurities or your uncertainties.
Mm.
I think it's synonymous to fear.
So you see what may I try to say now though. So it's not it's we're no longer identifying it as fear. We're now saying it's imposter syndrome. And I understand that it's
It's
a
dealing with a particular
type,
thing.
huh?
It's dealing with a particular thing. So, for example, you have a YouTube channel and you're doing it, but then there's something that's telling you that I'm not gonna reach 10,000 subscribers. I'm not gonna have nothing. Like I don't have
Right.
anything
So
to give to
I'm saying,
people.
isn't that regular a regular feeling that people would get when they're doing something? Like for me, I wanted to start my YouTube channel a long time ago, but I'm like, I don't know if nobody go watch me, and nobody go listen to me. So I'm saying, isn't that a regular feeling when you're
Yeah,
doing something that perhaps you're not good enough or you're not sure, whatever? How do you know when it reaches imposter syndrome? You're not, you get what I'm asking?
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying that that regular feeling, I think people have now coined it as imposter syndrome.
Okay.
So the regular
Oh,
feeling of I don't know if I'm good enough, I don't know if I can handle it, I don't know whatever. I think people have coined it now as imposter syndrome. And
okay.
honestly, from my experience, I don't have no research about this, but from my experience, just keep going, just keep moving forward. If you need support, like for example, some people get like life coaches or mentors. If you need that kind of support, get it.
Mm.
If you need some persons write down things that they need to do and get accountability partners. That don't work for some people. Some people go back again to a counselor. They can unearth some things from their past that probably contribute to how they feel about this particular thing now.
Mm.
So yeah,
Well, I don't know about imposter syndrome. I'm still a little, oh, what is this really saying kind of a thing. But in terms of that fear that sometimes I get, because people always talk about, oh, but you're so confident, you're always this, you're always that. How I deal with that, I remind myself I meditate on the word of God that says, that if He's the one who has called me to do this, then He has given me everything that I need. So one of my life, I guess, I don't know if it's a mantra, but the foundation, one of the scriptures that I live my life on is Philippians 2:13 that says, it's God who works in me both to will and to do of His good pleasure. So one of the things, that's literally what I remind myself of God's word, that listen, God is the one who gave me this vision. So it means therefore that everything is already in me to do it. And if I'm in purpose, then He'll all work it out for His glory. So I don't know if that's imposter syndrome, but that thought, because that does come to us, so it comes to our minds, the whole fear. I've always wanted to do a YouTube live with somebody, but I'm like, boy, I don't know if you use StreamYard. I don't know if this and whatever. And then I said, you know what? I'm just
that's
gonna
me
do
right
it.
now.
That's you right now. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it Did we have some hiccups? Certainly. Both of us were in the studio just now. I came on, saw her. I'm like waving, talking, hi, hello. We were there for a couple of minutes, literally over 15 minutes, guys, trying to get to this thing. And I'm like, what's happening? And I wanted to do it on my own because I always I call Sean, my brother, big up yourself. You always help me out. But I wanted to do it on my own, because it seemed easy. But then I had to call Sean. I'm like, okay, Sean, if you see me a call, to make a problem reach in. And we started laughing. And then at the end of the day, he was here trying to help me. Didn't know why either. Just when I said, let me try and go live and see what would happen. So he muted his side. I turned on the phone. I tell him go on YouTube. Boom, bam, me go up, me press that. But just decided to click my name. I came up, clicked Paula-Kaye's name. She came up, and we're here tonight. So it's not that when you decide to step out that challenges won't come, but when you the scripture that speaks about meditating on the word of God, I don't want us in all our mental health awareness feel like we can do all of this without God. We are unable to can, right? And so getting the word of God that speaks specifically to your situation or how you're feeling, and continue to meditate on that and believe it, because Mike Murdoch says whatever you continue to hear, it forms your belief system. So if you're having imposter syndrome or any other fear of doing whatever, find that word. Me, I always I think say, boy, this call too great, this too great. Me don't know if me can do this. That fear it comes.
Yeah.
So yeah, for all of the people that want to talk about, boy, let's just confidently just do the things. And me and God over here, I say, all right, God, it's you in me, and you will me, and all of that. So that's one of the things that I do. So as I say, I don't know if that's an imposter syndrome or if it's even uh a suggestion or advice from a mental health perspective. That's just me from a spiritual perspective, that I understand the fear of, not being good enough or not feeling like you're qualified, etc. Jimon says, any tips for setting healthy boundaries? I think
Yeah,
this is a good one. I still continue
it's a
to
very good one.
yeah.
I think for setting healthy boundaries, you need to first of all recognize what it is that's hurting you. Recognize what it is
Mm,
that's hurting you from other people or things that you're allowing in your own life, and
mm,
you need to define for yourself what you will and will not allow. So before you even approach anybody else, define for yourself what is okay for you and what is too much for you.
yeah.
I think for persons who struggle with boundaries, they kind of struggle with um, disappointing people or
People
saying no.
pleasing. They're usually people
So
pleasers. Mm,
yeah, so it's good to practice, the things that you will say. So for example, um, a boundary at work. Maybe you have this coworker who always push things on your desk, that don't have nothing to do with your job description. You can, say, all right, then, this particular thing, I'm not going to take on anymore. Practice how you're going to say that thing. When they come to you, listen, Glenisha, I'm not going to do this. This is your job. It's not part of my job description. And I need for you to take responsibility for what you need to do.
mm,
Um, Also, get comfortable with the word no. A lot of us are not comfortable with it for many reasons. Get comfortable with the word no. Practice saying no. Be okay with saying no. And sometimes when you say the no and the people then flare up, you might feel a little something in here, so
that's okay.
it's okay. Go and
Yeah.
feel it. It will pass. But
Mm,
yeah, I think for the main thing is to recognize what is hurting you and draw a line right there. So at the end of
mm.
the day, your boundaries are for you first. For protecting you first.
Yeah, I think for me and the healthy boundary thing, I guess I would be the savior complex. I always want to help everybody. And one of the things that I do, I remind myself that hey, it's a reason Jesus came, and that's why I am not Jesus. He already came to save the whole world, and I can't do it. And so
Yeah.
that's
So
one of the
recognize the
things.
limitations.
Yeah, and so that's one of
And
the
be
things
okay with it.
that helped me. Yeah, and I think I still do that, I remember it was just a period I was just very busy, and my mentee wanted a certain level of attention, and to deal with a certain thing. And I'm her mentor. I'm supposed to be there, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't, and I just said, hey, this season it's very busy for me, so and so and so. I'm asking you that, blah blah blah. But if you can't, I understand. Like I just couldn't. And so it's a hard conversation sometimes to have with yourself first, like to identify that, hey, I can't do it all. Hey, I can't do everything. I can't help everybody. I can't save everybody. And then when you have that conversation with yourself and you come to the terms, as Paula-Kaye says, practice now saying it to that person. Hmm. Rachel says, remind yourself of your why as well. Definitely. So, yeah, it's 9:30. I think we spent what, an hour, almost 30 minutes on here.
Yeah.
Why will you chatting? But that natural for me, but I think it's a natural for you. Me love chat. That's my personality.
No, I'm an introvert. I have a cap.
Right. So I actually had that in mind while we're doing this. So I had not intended that we go past the hour because I'm like, yeah, remember the shy introvert, the social battery was an I. So I took that into consideration. But then the conversation just bring me here.
Yeah, it
But
was
I'm
good.
gonna,
It was good.
huh?
It was a good conversation.
Okay, that's good. It's good that you don't feel drained and all of that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, family, see? She like big up on herself. Of course, thank you so much again, Paula-Kaye, for coming on here and sharing with us. We learned a lot tonight, and I really do hope that this live it gets into some circles where people can actually help other people, help themselves to get the therapy if they need it and all of that. And know that hey, you also need boundaries in your intimate relationships. That one is very important. That even in intimate, yeah, well, like a boundary can. So that's great. Thank you guys for coming on here. Please remember to give this live a what? Thumbs up. Don't forget to do what? Tell them up in the parlor, okay?
Subscribe and click that bell.
Yeah. We love it here. Until next time, guys, take care of yourself. Have a wonderful week. Be safe. Still wear your mask because COVID will come again. Hello, please.
COVID will
And
come again.
uh, have a
Where's the COVID will come again?
she say numbers are rise again, girl. Numbers are rise again. Like the COVID on this side say. Yeah. So guys, turn off on the light sometimes, lie down on a bed, meditate, yes. Listen to some music so that JPS not run up on the light bill. Cause I still depend that. My light bill did double and me I use less light. Me not understand. So but another kind of life there tonight. All right, guys. Bye.